Hello everybody and welcome back to the TripleJump podcast. It's a video game podcast, it's not an athletics podcast. I feel like we need to make that distinction every time. Yeah. I'm Ben.
I'm Peter.
I'm back.
You're back.
And better than ever.
Welcome back.
I'm back.
Oh my god, we're back again.
How was the other guy?
He was alright, yeah. Pretty radical.
Pretty radical. Huh?
Yeah, all the windows have been blown out because he just kept dabbing, and all the bass but
he sounds like a real piece of work.
He was a piece of work, but I don't know. Like you're certainly less disruptive than he was.
I try to be,
but comparatively, you look like a bit of a square. To be honest,
not as cool.
Yeah,
not as cool as the other guy. Well, he's gone now, so
that's true.
I'm all you got.
Great.
I'm all you've got.
Welcome back, Ben.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. You no longer have to double take every time you say my name because you're worried about whether or not you've said the correct name.
You're absolutely right about that, Dick. Ben, sorry.
Dick Ben. Welcome back, everybody listening right now. We cannot do this amazing podcast without the help from our wonderful sponsors. This week, Peter, I believe you've got the ad read in front of you for this week's sponsor.
Are you hungry?
No.
Oh, well, try and make some room because we're sponsored today, this week, by Crunchy Chicks.
Crunchy Chicks?
Delicious Crunchy Chicks. Remember from Fable, the game that you've never played?
Yeah, sure do.
Oh, tasty Crunchy Chicks. Do you want to eat an actual live baby chicken that will reduce your karma by a significant amount?
Oh boy, do I.
Oh, well, you better have yourself a Crunchy Chick or 11.
Or 11.
Yum, yum. You know when you go to the non-franchised independent fast food restaurant.
Yeah, NFC.
NFC, which gives you probably food poisoning.
Definitely food poisoning.
You know how crunchy the chicken is.
In fact, that's a guarantee. And
it is. You can actually sue if you don't get food poisoning.
It's not crunchy.
It's not
very crunchy.
It's not very crunchy.
Is that the point? Sorry, what's the point?
It's
really crunchy.
It's pretty crunchy. There's all bits of cartilage and bones and claws in there.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It's bad chicken.
Right, because it's really low quality chicken.
But if you want crunchier for some reason, have yourself a Crunchy Chick.
When I look at a chicken, I think, I bet that son of a gun is crunchy. And then I'm really disappointed when I take a big old mouthful of that live clucker.
And it's all smooth.
I hate smooth food.
Yeah.
What a weird descriptive term. But thank you to Crunchy Chicks. Crunchy Chicks for sponsoring this podcast. That's a lie. We were lying. We can't do this podcast without our Patreon people. I nearly said Patreons. That's not what they're called. It's really difficult to say patrons and Patreon. But our patrons over at patreon.com/Team TripleJump are the only people who can supply, oh my God.
Supply questions to us.
Supply questions to the podcast. And so we're going to read some of them now.
We are.
First question, Peter. Take it away.
This one is from Molly McDade.
Molly McDade?
We know that one.
We know that one. She writes for us.
What are some online games you remember playing back in the day? In brackets, it says, like Newgrounds and others, especially in the school library. Oh. That's where I played most of my online games.
I was going to say, I think online games, as in browser-based flash games, exclusively reserved for a period in your life where you are, as far as I've observed, 3 periods in your life.
Yeah.
When you're at school.
Yeah.
And you just want to be distracted and mess around. When you're doing revision, because you're at school, and you've had your console taken away from you so you can focus on revising.
Right.
And when you're a 55-year-old man and you don't have any consoles, like my dad was at the time, and sometimes you get caught late at night just playing snooker against random people on the internet, on a Flash website.
Or something.
Yeah. Those are the 3. There's no other times in life where you need that.
No.
Those are the only times.
I don't know about you, but I played a lot of online like browser games when I was sort of, I don't know, between maybe 11 and 14, 15 at school. One of the ones that I remember quite vividly was Yeti Sports. Remember those?
I don't remember Yeti Sports, no.
It was a series of, I think they actually originally were all brought out separately, and they kept making sequels to it, and then they were all bundled in together, where it was sort of polar-based sports. So there was like, I want to say there was downhill skiing and stuff. I don't think there was actually a skiing one, but
the triple flump, of course.
In fact, they weren't even polar because there was one where he was surfing and he had to sort of jump up and down.
Well, maybe that's a global warming one.
Yeah, possibly. But the one that I remember quite vividly was a penguin would sort of jump down off a cliff, and you had to perfectly time your click to swing a bat and hit the penguin, right?
Right, yeah.
So that was the original version in Yeti Sports.
Crunchy Chicks, I think is what it was called.
Now, there was actually one that it was uploaded to the website that I used to use, which wasn't like Newgrounds. It was some place where they just reposted Flash games.
Right.
And the name that had been posted under was just some sort of file name style thing that was called like Yeti Game Gore X. Right?
Great, yeah.
And it was a sort of modded, reskinned version of the Batter Penguin game where the bat had been turned into this enormous Final Fantasy style spiked club.
Oh my
that had
God.
just been like crudely drawn with blood spikes on it. And when you hit the penguin, blood would start spurting out of its now headless neck stump.
That sounds gratuitously amazing.
Oh, it was. And it would fly through the air. And occasionally, if you were lucky, it would land on a mine and send it further and further. And you had to like hope that it was just random, but you would just hope that like, oh, I've got to hit those mines on the way.
That sounds like a reskinned version of a game that I was going to talk about.
Okay.
Or perhaps this was a reskinned version of that.
Well, this was like very much a reskinned version of just the penguin bat
Okay.
game. But I remember specifically playing that in the library, and the other guy, my friend next to me was also playing it. And the librarian came up behind us and was like, "What's that? Are you playing games?" And then I've got really vivid memory of her going, "Oh no, is that blood?" And we went, "Yes, it's blood."
No.
Went, "No, I don't think that's appropriate."
Do you remember her name?
I think it was Mrs. Hewitt.
We had a Mrs. Travis.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and
Mrs.
she would kick us out for like even just having a tab open with music, with headphones plugged in. She'd come up and she'd look all apologetic and go, "No, you've got to go."
Really?
I'm clearly working. You're going to kick me out because I've got a music. No, it's against the rules.
Oh my God.
You've got to go.
Oh, Mrs. Hewitt was the sort of second in command, the actual head of the library.
You had two librarians?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
She was called Mrs. Bird, and her catchphrase was, "Excuse me!"
Oh, great.
And she was sort of
Every
look across
librarian
the room.
needs one.
Yeah.
Every librarian needs with a slightly hoarse, exasperated voice.
Yeah.
Because she does it all day, every day.
She would just always say that. Occasionally it would be, "Excuse me!" And then when she realised what you were doing, it would be, "Out you go." Out you go.
Librarians must hate computers.
Oh,
it
they
must have
must.
been so nice when it was just books.
It was just paper.
And now they've got to worry about books and porn.
Yeah.
All of it. Those are the only two things, of course. But they've got to worry about that whole new aspect now, which they didn't have previously.
Tell me about your mine game. Mine?
So my mind game, I couldn't really play many Flash games because our school internet, like many, was locked down like Fort Knox. You couldn't really access many. So every week it was trying to find a new website that wasn't blocked by whatever stupid filter there was.
We went on Google Images for some reason.
Really?
Google Images was banned.
Now that sounds familiar. I remember YouTube being banned. I remember a brief period where Facebook wasn't banned.
Right.
And because it wasn't, and it was gaining popularity, that was the time when I signed up.
Okay.
Because everyone was like, "Oh, Facebook's not blocked." And I was like, "I suppose I'd better sign up for this thing. Get rid of my Bebo account, I guess." Worst decision I've ever made. No, I couldn't really play that many games as a result. But when we did find them, we stuck with them. I remember at one point we found a proxy server.
Right.
Like as soon as we discovered like a proxy server that you could use within your browser, we were like, we can access everything. We can go on YouTube now. We can go on YouTube because of course not, because that'd be fun. I remember playing Kitty Cannon.
Oh, of course.
Which was very similar sounding to that Penguin game.
The art style was different, but it was very similar.
You press the space bar and it's sort of filling up and down in terms of how far you fire the cat, and then it just sort of bounces and like if it hits mines, it goes further.
But
and
it could
stuff.
hit a cactus, couldn't it?
It could just go
instantly stuck.
Is that blood?
Oh no! Is that? Oh no! That's not appropriate.
I also remember various copter games where you
Oh,
just
yeah.
have to keep pressing the space bar to sort of stay up. You know, that's very popular on mobiles.
Yeah.
Mobile gaming now. You just keep tapping. And finally, like a million different variations of various motocross games. I remember Trials, I think, got its start as a Flash game.
Oh, did it?
The Trials series, where basically it's side on 2D. You have to use the left and right buttons to sort of balance, like lean forwards or back, and then press the spacebar to accelerate, and you have to get over various obstacles and courses without falling off and stuff. And that was always good fun.
If anyone wants to play all of the games that I used to play, the website that I used was still online about a year ago. I checked.
Really?
It's gprime.net/game.
.net.
And it's just something that a guy, I don't know how I found it even, but there was just a whole list of just hyperlinks to games that were like sort of reposted on that website. A lot of them don't work anymore, I expect, but there it is.
Well, that's
Impossible
fun.
Quiz we used to play.
Oh god, the Impossible Quiz.
And 4-Second Fury was a lot of fun. If that's still working on gprime.net, I recommend that. That was super fun.
Fantastic. Yeah. Right, let's move on, Peter.
Let's.
It's time for a groundbreaking segment. You've never heard it before. It's called What Are We Playing?
Yes, it is.
Peeps.
Yes.
What you playing?
We record this podcast usually on a Thursday. And a few days ago, I was playing on my live stream Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
TPM.
Yeah, TPM, Tiny Peter Menace. And we kind of got to what I consider the peak of the game.
Okay.
Its very best moments. There's probably still one live stream's worth of content left. I did a poll. People do want me to finish it, so I'm going to.
Okay.
But I think that game, despite looking janky as hell...
Janky, I've nearly said another word. I can say it anyway. Janky wanky. I'm allowed to say it.
Janky wanky,
I'm allowed
absolutely.
to say it. Just can't say the naughty words.
It's all blocky wocky and textury.
You can't say that. You can't say those words.
I just
That's
said them.
Filth.
What are you going to do about it?
Fire you. I don't have that power.
If you can look beyond the terrible presentation and frankly the glitchy nature of some of the RPG elements and the escort mechanics, basically if you can look past everything that's wrong with the game.
If you close your eyes.
Yeah, it has this brief period in the middle where it kind of becomes an RPG and it's really good. You venture around Tatooine over 2 levels, sort of negotiating with traders. You meet Jabba the Hutt, which they just threw in for fun, which they didn't need to do. There's all kinds of like hidden rooms and things, and also some rather funny moments. Like if you kill Shmi Skywalker at the right moment, Anakin's body just sort of, it doesn't quite T-pose, but he, in a sort of static, my legs aren't moving kind of way, just slides around super fast and bumps into you.
No.
And he keeps saying, I won't help a murderer like you, just over and over.
God, I remember all this stuff.
Yeah.
Because I really liked this game. I was too young to really know what was going on.
Right.
And it was just so mysterious to me because there were so many weirdly programmed fail states in that game
there were.
that just does, like, it should be way more linear than it is.
Yeah.
I remember going to is it Gunga?
Otto Gunga, yeah.
Is that the name?
The city,
right? And just being able to murder everyone.
Oh yeah,
and nobody cared. It didn't prevent the
There's
story.
There's children in there.
There's children. You can kill all of them.
Not just
and
the men.
Sometimes the guards and the sand gets everywhere.
Yeah.
Sometimes the guards will start fighting you, but then you'll just trigger a cutscene and then leave, and it's like, wow, the Jedi are great, aren't they?
Yeah.
What nice fellas.
Yeah. They really allowed you. They programmed in things, not just technically you're allowed to kill people and, they die. It's like, no, we've gone as far as to, if you do kill people, different things happen. So, they kind of expected you to go around slaying civilians from time to time.
Yeah.
There's like one guy who you trade with in Mos Espa. If you kill too many people, it sort of activates a kind of soft fail state where it doesn't end the level by saying Padme has been killed, but you won't be able to talk to anyone anymore because they don't want to deal with you. And so you go up to this guy and he just goes, "You're no Jedi." And there's like all these lady traders,
Laders, I think they're called. Yeah.
Laders standing around. Darth Lader.
Manual Laderers.
You go up to them and she goes,
Princess Lader.
"Oh no, it's the killer." And even actually, I think if you go and speak to Padme before she gets killed by the guards, she says, "Oh, thank God you're here. This place is horrible. Apparently there's a vicious murderer running around killing everyone in town. And it's you."
It's so weird, isn't it?
It's a really weird game.
Relic of the time,
yeah.
I think. I really enjoyed that game.
Yeah. And
hard,
I went through the Coruscant level, which I only played very few times as a child, or only finished very few times. And that's similar in a way in that you meet a bunch of strange characters that they really didn't need to put in there, but they did. So That was a lot of fun, and I just thought for
Nice.
once I would talk about one of the old games
For once.
I've been playing,
Well,
rather
that's
than Crash
lovely.
Team Racing again.
Well,
Ben, what are you playing?
yeah, so I have now finished the Grand Prix in Crash Team Racing. I've got all the rewards. I am ranked well within the top. Well, let's see. Mathematically, let me work this out quickly. Based on where I was last night, I am in the top 3% of players
Are
for the
you?
Grand Prix, which sounds impressive but then when you realize that actually there's 1 million people on the leaderboard and some of them have probably only got a few points just by playing the
Sure.
game and not really going for it. Now that I've hit I was like in position 30 something thousand just the other day,
Right.
before I maxed out the Grand Prix. But now that I've carried on playing, I think a lot of people get all the rewards and they're just like,
Oh, and
nah,
then stop.
I'm done. So I've kept playing, and just over the course of like one day of completing the daily challenges, I'm in the top. I'm in like 13,000th position now, or
Right.
something online.
So you're going to get the
So I'm going to get the special card,
special car.
and I think it's a little bit easier than people expect because statistically, all you have to finish, I think it's just finish in the top 50,000 players currently.
Right. I think it's top
Because-
5%, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with 1 million, is that 50,000?
Yeah, if there are... Do you know, is there 1 million people playing? Is
Yeah,
that
there's
what-
1 million people on the leaderboard,
On the
for sure.
leaderboard,
There's
right.
over 1 million people. Nothing too much higher than not like 1,500,000. It's
Yeah.
just 1 million, I
Right.
think, roughly. So if you can get under 50,000, and if you can max out this and then just play for a little bit longer, you're guaranteed basically to get this special shiny
I might
card.
go for it. I wasn't even thinking about it really before because I was like, well, that's only going to be for the elite, but
Well,
Apparently
what
not.
can I say?
Well,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, if
apparently
I'm in
yes.
it, apparently not.
Yeah.
This idiot.
what's the gold reward?
Well,
I've
that's what I was
forgotten.
about to say. It's pretty disappointing. It's just the motorsport skin for Torna.
Oh,
So Torna is the first big reward you get. I think is she the first big
the
reward you get
bronze.
for the bronze,
Yeah.
finishing the bronze tier, and then the gold tier is getting the motorsport version, which is just a skin
Yeah.
that gives you a bonus percentage, but it's the same bonus percentage that you would have got if you raced as any other of the Grand Prix races that you can just buy from the
in
store.
their motorsports games,
In their
yeah.
motorsports gear, which I've been racing in for a long time anyway. But I suppose if you like Torna and you like her stats, then that's what you're going towards. But I was hoping for maybe something a little bit.
Silver award I like
little bit
though.
special.
I've not actually played for a while Crash Team Racing, but I'm going for silver. I'm nearly there now, which is Crash in his biker uniform. From
Oh,
Crash
yes.
3.
Yeah,
I say
no, that's
uniform.
cool. Uniform, yeah.
Yeah, his biker outfit. That's cool. I like
That's
that they've
cool.
added that in because it kind of works. Probably the most context-relevant costume out of anyone in the entire game, to be honest.
Yeah.
Given that he does race in that in a different game.
Does do a race.
Yeah.
Apart from that, I played a little bit of Fallout 76, hopped into that for the first time in a few months,
Mm-hmm.
and just messed around with a friend, was doing some streaming at home,
Yeah.
and that game has like just not improved at all. Like I can't speak for the new features they've added, but stability wise, it's exactly the same. Like we've talked about these problems before. I really like Fallout 76. I had a lot of fun with it, and I played it way longer than the vast majority of people listening to this, probably.
Yeah.
So I'd like to think that I know somewhat what I'm talking about.
Right.
And I can tell you absolutely 100% that it just simply does not matter what they add to that game feature-wise. It's fundamentally broken. It just doesn't work at a base level, and there's no
Right.
amount of polishing that can make that sort of, make people want to play that. I saw recently that what's his name? The guy from Hello Games.
Oh,
Sean. Peter will now Google
two-syllable-
him. He's called Sean.
Sean Durder.
Sean Durder from Hello Games, who made No Man's Sky, and he was recently offering advice to Bethesda about, launching and EA with Anthem about launching a game that wasn't received well. The problem is, No Man's Sky ran really well. It was just short. Murray, thank you.
That's the one.
Durder. It was short on features, whereas Fallout 76 does not run well. And I think had plenty of features anyway. But what they're doing is they're polishing a turd.
Yeah.
And you can polish that turd as much as you want, but it doesn't mean that people are going to want to take the turd.
No, you just end up with a weird sort of polishy turd.
Yeah,
which
but with
is-
like extra bits like put on the side of it.
And
It's
if you've
still
sort
a
of-
poo.
If you've sort of polished it too hard, it just sort of squishes under the
Yeah, you
polish
don't want
rag,
that.
and then you just get shit all over. I mean, you just get
Sorry?
turd all over.
You just get turd all over the polish rag,
Yeah.
which is the Polish rag, which is not what you want. So yeah, that's Fallout 76. Apart from that, at the time of recording today, we're starting our live stream our new co-op live stream series of Outlast, which is something we've talked ourselves into playing.
Yeah.
Neither of us are particularly excited to get spooked, but if you want to see that, the VOD will be up in the next couple of days.
Isn't there an actual ding-dong in Outlast?
There is a real wingle in that. We're a winky. Yeah.
So we're going to have to...
No, it'll be fine.
I'm pretty sure that gets taken off YouTube. I think that's like
How are they meant to know, though? Is someone watching every single frame of every video just in case it has a
the
winkle?
Algorithm knows. It's
well,
a
we just won't
cutscene
look,
though, isn't it?
We just won't look. We'll cover up our eyes. If everyone agrees to cover up their eyes, then we'll be fine.
I'm not saying the stream will get pulled by some sort
no.
But I mean, the VOD might. We
the
might
winky
have to
police.
de-wink the VOD.
Well, if you want to see some winkles, then make sure you tune in.
Tune in live if you want to see the uncensored knobs.
We had to get rid of the knobs on a way out, didn't we? Because that had a little bit of side knob, side peen for people. We had peenple. We had to censor that because the internet's no fun.
Anyway, talking of knobs, we've got a question here from David Lever.
Yes.
Sorry, that's not very nice.
Sorry, it's David Remainer.
I don't know you, David Lever. I'm sure you're a lovely man.
Yeah, that was really rude, actually.
Yeah, it is really rude. Thank you, David, very much for your support. You are not a knob. I was just trying to do a link.
Yeah.
But
it was a really good one. Look how fluent it is.
Yeah. What's the worst time you've ever had a console freeze or turn off on you? I think mine was beating the Elite Four for the first time in Pokemon Pearl, and then my DS ran out of power pre-saving.
Oh dear.
Ben.
David, that's not great. I've got two examples that spring to mind. Literally spring in the case of the PS1 when you can. Those buttons, they're kind of spring-loaded, aren't they? Anything can press those. Human, cat, definitely cat.
Yeah.
So I was playing Final Fantasy XIV. My cat just stepped on the power button, and I know that's not sort of a freeze, but it definitely counts as a turn off.
It does.
So my cat turned off my PS1. Big old chunky buttons on that.
Yeah.
Very easy for, I think, perfectly paw-sized for a cat.
Really. It's quite a large range in which the cat could step onto it, I think.
And ruin my day. The second one was I was playing The Simpsons Hit and Run on The Simpsons Hit and Run on PS2, on the PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
And
those buttons are less chunky.
They're less chunky.
But very sensitive.
A cat could, if a cat was able to kick, without rolling on its back and doing that sort of rabbit thing, then sort of thumper feet, then I'd be in trouble. Maybe a small-sized man, maybe a Peter. Maybe a Peter could trip and fall and reset it, but that wasn't the issue here. The console froze, and I was doing the sort of internal, ridiculous, almost superstitious checklist of, blow into the port, and it makes no difference.
While it was
make
frozen?
sure you blow into the port. So here's what I ended up doing. Here was my logic. I ejected the disc so it was open. And I thought maybe if I just put it back in again, it'll start spinning and pick up because I think that's happened before. Maybe I don't know what the logic was, but I thought I don't think it didn't.
No.
So I thought I'd give it a go. Ejected it, and I was like, maybe if I unplug, maybe it's a problem with the TV. Of course, it wouldn't be. Maybe if I just unplug the AV thing from the back of the PS2, the PlayStation 2, and then plug it back in, maybe then it'll show up on the television.
Right. Simpsons Hit and Run.
Simpsons Hit and Run on the television, on the PlayStation 2. And what I did was the tray was still ejected. I leaned over to unplug it, leant on the tray without meaning to, and it went... and it just snapped. It didn't snap off, but the mechanism in there broke, so it wouldn't go back in. And I was distraught.
I bet.
And Mr. Sony had to bring me a refurbished one because I broke it because The Simpsons froze. And I thought, I'll try this imaginary checklist of fixes.
Oh, no.
And that was really good.
Oh, that was a real bad one. You didn't just lose your progress.
No.
You broke your PlayStation 2.
I broke my PlayStation 2.
For me, I was trying to think, I know, plenty of times when this has happened, just when I've been playing, and it's like, oh, that's annoying. I was doing whatever, or I was enjoying myself.
Yeah.
But I was trying to think of any sort of catastrophic moments. And the one thing that I can think of was actually fairly recently. Before Spyro Reignited came out, I got wind that they were including the skill points from the second and third games, and also adding a bunch for the first game.
Right.
And I remember I sort of asked myself, have I ever actually done all of those on the original games? And I assumed that I had, but didn't know for sure whether I actually had done. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to do that. In the lead up to the game coming out, I'm going to play Spyro 2 and 3, do all the skill points.
Yeah.
Spyro 2, one of the hardest skill points, I think, is you have to defeat Ripto without taking any hits. Now, his fireball thing is like kind of easy to dodge if you know what you're doing. The robot gulp is a lot harder, though, I find.
Is that something from Cyberpunk 2077?
Yeah, robot gulp.
You pay extra for that.
Robot gulp.
Shut up.
And I also find it pretty tricky in the final phase when he has homing fireballs that are green and therefore not fire at all, I suppose.
Right.
Anyway, it took me ages and ages. I kept dying and dying and dying and dying. And then I remember getting to the final phase. I was doing really well. I'd not been hit. I'd hit him plenty. I only had to hit him a few more times. And the PS2, which I've had for a very long time, just sort of went, no. And it turned on again perfectly well, but I didn't get that skill point.
Oh, no.
I did eventually, but not in that moment. And I was just,
not that day.
No.
You went for an angry walk.
Probably, yes. So that was, a moment full of despair.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
That's especially frustrating when you're so close to completing something.
Yeah.
Like, luckily, I can't even remember the context of where I was in the games. It was just frustrating to have it happen, but actually losing out on something you're going for, that's hard. It's a difficult thing to deal with.
It is.
I suppose you could say it's a weird way to lose progress. What was that? Did somebody say something?
Did someone say progress?
Did somebody say way?
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 Say lose?
Way?
What?
Lose?
What?
Weird?
It's time for...
It's weird news time. That's the weird news noise. Weird news. Weird news. And it's time to play the jingle, except in the podcast version where it's just
it against my microphone.
It just goes straight to us coming back.
Yeah.
Weird news. It's time for weird news. Are you ready, Peter?
Yes.
I've got a weird news for you.
Your news.
This comes by way of Polygon, by which I mean Polygon. And this headline reads, Chinese Final Fantasy XIV players are turning eating fried chicken into a new quest.
Ooh, crunchy chickens. Crunchy chicks.
Eat a lot of bird to get a bird is what it says. It should have said crunchy chicks.
Right.
You want some context?
Yeah, definitely. So
here we go.
They're turning it into a quest, did you say?
Yes, Chinese Final Fantasy XIV players are turning eating fried chicken into a new quest.
Okay.
So, Square Enix has been passing along promotions to unlock a black fat Chocobo mount in Final Fantasy XIV. Objectively, sounds great. That's what it looks like. Of course you want one of those.
Oh my god.
Why wouldn't you? It's a perfect little ball that you can ride. In the United States, you simply had to buy a qualifying item from Amazon. In China, however, you get a code for the fat bird only once you've ordered a family-sized meal at KFC.
Weird.
It is. Isn't that weird? According to this Reddit thread, it says that rounds up the chaos caused by the bird, fans have to pay approximately $13.73 for a family meal and dine in with it. The meal consists of, and try not to get hungry now, folks, because this sounds pretty good, but also highlights just how big this family meal is that people are having to buy.
In the country where, until recently, you were only allowed to have one child.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
There's no such thing as a family, really. The meal, yeah, that's right, China, I'm calling you out.
Yeah, that's like everyone,
not really.
Everyone in the world. If you're a
If you're a one-child family,
you're no family.
Do better. KFC thinks you can, KFC definitely thinks you should be a bigger family, that's for sure.
Right.
Are you ready to hear?
Sure.
The meal consists of one double chicken burger, one vegan mushroom burger, one 5-piece order of chicken nuggets, 2 original recipe pieces of chicken, one 2-piece order of New Orleans chicken wings, one Old Beijing spicy duck roll, 2 large Pepsis, and 2 peach oolong teas.
Specifically Pepsi, not
Pepsis.
any fizzy drink.
Well, yeah, maybe it's just Pepsi. I was going to say KFC is one of the places that has Pepsi instead of Coke.
No, yeah,
isn't it, I
but
think,
you can't get like Tango instead.
No.
Oh.
Oh, I don't know. It just says Pepsi here.
Right.
The set is obviously for a family, but you only get one code for eating it all, which means each player needs to put away a lot of food to get that code. After all, why go with your friends on different days and take turns redeeming the code when you can do it in a more challenging way like this? Hilariously enough, Chinese Final Fantasy XIV players have been cooking up memes and guides on how to take down the food using in-game terminology. So here we go. I'm going to read you this now. So this is rough translations, and you may not get all of the terms because they're in-game terms, but there's a lot of just general video game terms.
This is a rough translation, Chinese to English, of people using Final Fantasy in-game terms about eating large amounts of KFC
to unlock a black fat bird for Final Fantasy XIV. KFC Extreme, I am full, need DPS. Next one. I cheated. I said I will solo, but was wiped out after eating a roll, a chicken, and 2 wings. I am done. What about you? Never again. The lady next to me looks at me as if I am a pig. Our team was wiped. Failed to pull the roll and burger apart during P2. MT pulled 2 burgers. Just leave the Coke alone. Focus on the chicken. Anyone at Kunming wants to team up for a KFC raid? Already found 3. I was wiped at 5% solo. You must distribute the damage from the Pepsi. Don't let it stack.
But hang on, you don't have to eat all this if you don't want to.
No, you don't.
Just say in your head that, like, okay, I'm paying like $13, but I'm paying for the extra Chocobo. Just treat it like DLC with extra free food.
One translated post in the Reddit thread includes a walkthrough on what to eat in what order, noting that players should use Hallow Ground to solo the mushroom burger, which is also referred to as the Moorbol burger by its challengers. Moorbols are hideous beasts in Final Fantasy XIV, known for their bad breath attack.
Oh, no.
A cone-shaped area of effect that plants just about every debuff in the game on the player. Update, the Reddit thread linked in this article is updated to note that players do not have to finish the whole meal in order to receive the code, but players are still trying to individually eat the meal to obtain the code. And there's a meme there of, I assume, a Chinese person desperately trying to eat all the KFC with every debuff icon in the game.
Look at all
next
the drinks. The drinks alone.
There are 4
Pepsis
drinks.
And 2 teas.
Yeah.
For one man.
What was that again? I was wiped at 5% solo. You must distribute the damage from the Pepsi. Don't let it stack.
It sounds like some sort of World War II coded message.
It's mad, isn't it?
You must distribute the Pepsi.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Anyone up for a KFC raid? Got 3 so far.
Yeah.
I just thought that was a fun, weird story.
It is.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
got one too.
Go on then.
Weird
me harder. Weird me right into tomorrow.
Absolutely. I will.
Go on.
Nintendo deletes level from top Mario Maker 2 player for mysterious reasons.
Oh.
Okay, not super weird to begin with, just mysterious.
Mysterious.
I suppose.
Mysterious.
The clue is in the name.
Yeah.
This is from
Sorry? This is from Cuckoo Kachoo.
You must distribute the Kotakus evenly.
Yes, do not let them stack.
No. Any Super Mario Maker 2 player will tell you that Twitch streamer Grand Pooh Bear is one of the game's biggest ambassadors.
Right.
Not only is he dedicated to playing, making, and highlighting the best Mario levels out there, Grand Pooh Bear also does a ton to introduce new players to the game. But Nintendo seems determined to hound him.
Oh.
Yeah. Back in 2016, the House of Mario, is apparently what they're calling it.
Cool, that's a bit weird.
Deleted every single level that Grand Pooh Bear made for the first Super Mario Maker, despite acknowledging that he had not cheated or otherwise broken any visible rules. Based on conversations with Nintendo reps, Grand Pooh Bear believed that his courses were being taken down for including the word poo.
Oh no, because of his name.
Which would be easy enough to fix, except Nintendo refused to let him change level names. It was a mess, and now Nintendo seems to be repeating the mistake. In early July, Grand Pooh Bear uploaded a challenging yet approachable zero-G course. I meant to say zero-G, but I sometimes pronounce it zero-G. It's just something that I do.
It's fine.
Zero-G course, which you can view below. It is a completely normal Mario Maker 2 level. There are no glitches, exploits, or obscenities in the level. Today, the course is gone. It was one of the most played super expert levels in the game.
Oh, God.
But the reason cited, according to Nintendo, is harmful or inappropriate content.
Now remember, Nintendo are not going to censor games.
No.
That's the important thing to remember here.
Which does not track with the actual material in the upload. Grand Pooh Bear has no way to contest this decision.
So how's he spelling poo? Because Pooh Bear, obviously Winnie the Pooh.
Without
that's
an H.
Oh, without an H.
Yeah,
okay.
Grand Pooh Bear.
Right. Okay.
So he posted a screenshot of the email that he was sent, which is in stern, we do not want your comments, Peter Austin kind of language,
no.
which you don't want to receive.
Okay.
You'd rather receive just something that said, we're sorry to announce. We're going to have to take down your level.
Yeah.
It actually says violation, inappropriate and/or harmful content. This is Nintendo's final decision.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. Nintendo, chill. Daddy, chill.
Yeah.
What the hell is even that? Nintendo.
I don't know what the hell even that is. But the article goes on. I'm just reloading it because I had to go to a different page for that screenshot. This time, Grand Pooh Bear doesn't think the takedown is happening due to his name, or at least he claimed that Nintendo reps have repeatedly assured him the word isn't a problem. He speculates that he's not in good standing with the Japanese company, as his wider channel sometimes features playthroughs of ROM hacks and randomizers, although that wouldn't explain why this specific level got taken down.
It all seems a little childish.
Yeah.
That Nintendo would take such, if that is true, that they would take such an issue with him playing presumably old games if they're ROMs.
Yeah.
You know, with mods and stuff. It's just furthering the love of Nintendo and classic Nintendo stuff.
The point is, he's a big fan of Mario games in general, like the old ones, and he plays ROMs of them. And I'm assuming a randomizer is, Mario by its nature, and which is why Mario Maker works as a game, is very much made of component parts. Like it's there's a word for it.
Modular.
Yeah,
modular.
Modular. Yeah, that's the word. And I think a randomizer, I'm guessing, takes just random pieces of Mario like sprites and puts them all together. So he basically plays stuff that technically is probably not entirely legal, but is also completely not a problem whatsoever. You know, it's like just emulating a game that you already own or something like that. But apparently he thinks Nintendo take umbrage with the ROM hacks that he plays. And it's also worth noting that Mario Maker 2 owes much of its popularity to those ROM hacks. So
yeah, I was going to say, like, that seems like ROM hacks sort of seem like the grandfather of the whole idea of Mario Maker. And especially if this guy's such a prolific part of the community as well, to treat him so poorly does not reflect well on Nintendo at all.
Yeah, so they apparently have not... Polygon reached out and they've not had a response from Nintendo thus far.
Good.
But down at the bottom of the article, it just say, correction, July 17th. A previous version of this article claimed that the level in question did not have the word poo in it, when in fact it does.
Wow. Ooh. Great. Wonderful stuff. That was weird.
Yeah.
Poor Pooh Bear.
Yeah.
Here he comes down the stairs.
Silly old bear.
Thud, thud, thud. Yeah. Thump, 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 whatever
Slink,
it is.
slink, slink.
Yes. Let's move on to another question. This is from Christian Sturt, who asks, you want questions? I've got them.
Oh.
In your professional opinion, we're professionals, would you say?
Our opinions are professional.
Oh, wow.
But we are not.
Okay. What tends to be the most important factor behind a game you can't put down? Is it gameplay, graphics, replayability, music, etc.? Note, no chickening out with they all play an important part. What is the most important for you? Answers on a postcard, please. P.S. Welcome home, Ben. Thank you, Christian. It's good to be back.
Christian.
Good to be back. Do you have a specific thing that you like?
I guess in terms of not being able to put a game down, at the end of the day, it probably has to be... Oh, actually, no. I was just about to say with all surety that it's story, but actually, some games you can't put down, they've got no story whatsoever. They're just sort of addictive little mini-games and stuff. So,
but what about you personally? Rather than talking generally about what makes a good game. So for you, sometimes it is just gameplay.
I don't want to chicken out and hedge my... Bless you.
Oh, I'm allergic to your opinion.
To chickens.
No, never.
I don't want to sort of hedge my bets and say, oh, well, sometimes it's this and that. You know, Christian makes a good point. It would be very easy to go, oh, everything's important.
Well, yeah, it's just
but if I could at least, you know, have my fingers in maybe two pies, as it were.
Okay.
I would say that mostly it's a game with a compelling story. So I remember particularly when I first got my PS4, playing through Uncharted 1 to 4, you know, almost back to back.
Yeah.
I would play hours of that whenever I got home from work, and that was story almost entirely. You know, the games play very well, but the sort of cinematic aspect, the way they present the story and you know the characters and you know the hijinks that they get up to.
Yeah.
But definitely there's an element of like, sometimes you don't want to put a game down just because it plays super well. I mean, Crash Team Racing is an example. It's not, for me, a game that I can't put down necessarily, so that's not a good personal example. But for those who can't put it down, of which there are many, according to social media,
Right.
you know, that's got no story whatsoever, or almost. You know, it's got an opening cutscene. So yeah, I think overall it's a game with a good story, but there are certainly some games that just feel satisfying, and you just want to keep doing that over and over again, whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I pretty much agree. Like gameplay is incredibly important, but for me, it's always story.
Yeah.
I've got to care about what I'm doing. It's very rare that a game comes along like Crash Team Racing where story takes a back seat and it's just, this is really fun. I enjoy the challenge. I enjoy this. I'm having fun playing this. Throwing out an example, Horizon Zero Dawn. Really, really enjoyed that game, but I found myself ignoring all the side quests and all sort of the optional engagements and combat. And that game played fantastically, but I would just run between story missions because I wanted to know what happened next.
Yeah.
And equally, I've played fairly limited sort of indie games that don't have a huge amount of gameplay variety, or it's not particularly interesting, but the story is so strong that it's unique to that game that I want to keep going. Games like, I can't remember the name of it. Crossing Souls was one that came out at the beginning of last year that wasn't particularly fascinating from a gameplay standpoint, but story-wise, I was interested to see where it went, and I stuck with it.
Yeah.
That is what keeps... A good story will keep me playing a bad game.
Yeah.
But if it's great gameplay and a terrible story, then it's difficult to stay motivated for me to play it, or even start playing it, really.
I think that's what had me so hooked on, and still has me such a defender of Little Nightmares, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying that game is, as you say, you know, some games don't play well, but they have a good story that, you know, keeps you involved. I think it played pretty well, but the story, if you can call it that, or sort of the mysterious, ambiguous lore and, you know, wanting to know what happened next, I just couldn't put it down. You know, the only reason I stopped playing that game when I first got it was because, oh, look, it's bedtime. I've got work in the morning.
Yeah.
I better go to bed, you know?
If I must, mother.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think for me, it's sort of narrative and story, though there are some exceptions. Like, I used to play hours and hours and hours of Halo 3 multiplayer, and, you know, the multiplayer doesn't have a story. It just plays really well, I think. But
yeah.
Yeah.
There's always going to be games like that, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, story. You got to have a reason to be there. You got to have a reason to be there. It's time, Peter, for a ginormous, gigantic, the biggest we've ever seen. It's a big discussion.
But let me stop you right there,
Whoa,
Ben.
hang on, what?
It's big discussion with an S on the end.
Big discussions.
I know that we take our big discussions from our wonderful patrons.
Patrons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was something that I did just briefly want to bring with us. So it's a small, big discussion.
It's a smaller
We
discussion.
don't have to linger on it too long, but I thought it was worth discussing.
Go on, then.
It's a significant topic.
Go on, then.
Kotaku headline here. Ubisoft invites fans to make music for Watch Dogs Legion, sparking exploitation debate. So Ubisoft have done this before with Beyond Good and Evil 2 and Hit Record. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah,
is,
JGL.
JGL is in charge of Hit Record. I've got some quotes here. I'll just quickly read it through for you and then get your opinion. Last week, actor Joseph Gordon-Levitt announced on Twitter that his music production company Hit Record would once again partner with Ubisoft, this time to help the publisher create 10 songs for its upcoming open-world hacker game, Watch Dogs Legion. Ubisoft first tried this model with the science fiction game Beyond Good and Evil 2, which is still in development.
Science fiction game.
It has been criticised as a way to replace salaried or contracted work with, quote, spec work, in which creatives volunteer their time and labour without knowing for sure whether they'll be paid or how much they'll be paid. Now, the way that Hit Record do it, or the way Ubisoft do it with Hit Record, is that Ubisoft put up a lump sum of cash saying, this is how much we're going to pay for all the assets we use from this project.
Right.
And it's then divvied up to people based on how much input they have had to the song or the art that is being submitted.
Okay.
So certainly in the Ubisoft model, it's not a question of whether they'll be paid, but it's just how much will I be paid. Okay. This sucks, tweeted Mike Bithell, developer. Bithell. Is that right?
Yep.
I did wonder. Developer of Thomas Was Alone, under the no spec hashtag. People pay for their labor. Pay people for their labor. Sorry. Stop exploiting fans and hobbyists while devaluing the work of those with the goal to actually expect consistent payment for work done. Do better, Ubi. We're counting on you. Some creators on Hit Record don't necessarily see it that way, though. On this platform, we can improve and add our own ideas to some creations. It was, for me, a really casual experience, said Alexis Laborn, an artist living in France.
Laban.
I
have no idea.
Who contributed to Beyond Good and Evil 2. He was paid $993.
For a game, for a piece of music that features in a video game.
Yeah.
That will make probably a lot of money.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know if that's good or not. That's the thing.
Well, see, so I have an opinion on this. Now, I understand. I think the only way in which people ought to be outraged by this is that it does potentially devalue the work of professional, freelance composers and artists. People who do it for a living, it devalues their work because it can be, you can get the same kind of work for free or for cheap elsewhere. Now that's fine, and I see some argument in there. One thing I don't agree with is actually what most people said, certainly when Beyond Good and Evil 2 announced they were doing it, which is that, you're getting people to work for free or to work for not very much money, and that's really exploitative. Now, I don't agree with that whatsoever because they're very transparent about the model.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, you might not get paid very much for it, just so you know, this is how it works. We'll be divvying up some cash. But it's just an opportunity, in my opinion, for people to get work that they have done into a game that they love. Mostly it's fans of certain franchises that contribute to things like this. That's my opinion. But I wanted to know what you think of it.
Well, I see both sides of this argument. I really do. I think in the case of Beyond Good and Evil, I think it's a fantastic idea because that is a cult game.
Right.
And the people who love that game really love it, and they'll want to contribute and get something. They want to contribute to the next entry in one of their favorite series. Just like Shenmue 3 was largely kickstarted, and people paid to get sort of their name in the game somewhere in like a guest book in a lodge and stuff. Like people want to do that stuff. When it comes to Watch Dogs, that is a huge franchise that people may be a fan of, but they're not a fan in the same way that people are fans of Beyond Good and Evil.
That's true.
And Ubisoft is not a company that is hurting for money at all. I've always taken issue when big companies, Double Fine before they were acquired, kickstarted projects when they did not need to do that. They could have gone and found a publisher if they wanted to, but they decided to basically make it not for free, but they decided to make it with no or very little investment from actual sources that they had to pay back.
Right.
There was very relatively a relatively small risk for them there financially because they were getting the money for free, basically. I don't think companies that need this stuff should be denied it, but I do think that companies that don't need it should maybe think about their tact a little more because this just seems like a transparent way for Ubisoft to save money.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's good in this case, but I do think it's good in the case of smaller games. Like, for example, if THQ Nordic suddenly said, yes, we're going to cancel that stupid SpongeBob game and we are working on the new Time Splitters. Who wants to do a piece of music for it?
Yeah.
A lot of people would be very excited, but if Call of Duty said, we want a piece of music for sorry, did I say Call of Duty?
Yeah.
Yeah, if Activision want a piece of music for Call of Duty, that would be weird because it's like, you don't need that. Why are you doing that?
Yeah,
it just seems like a headache for you. It's strange. I don't get it.
Yeah, I guess it comes down partly to motive, like you say. Like if they are just thinking, we could probably get some free music or cheap music for Watch Dogs.
Yeah, might as well cash in on these fans.
Exactly.
Right?
Then that's not good. They shouldn't be doing that. But yeah, in my opinion, certainly with Beyond Good and Evil 2, I know I'm probably a bit biased, but I think that, like you say, that's a kind of a cult game, and not only do people want to contribute to that for and maybe only get a little bit of money for it. I think if Ubisoft had come out from the beginning and said, hey, we want assets for our game, this new entry in the series, we can't pay for it whatsoever, I think people still would have done it, The point, people aren't doing it to be paid. So I think the argument that it's exploitative because these people aren't being paid enough, I don't think that stacks up because, they've always been transparent about the model. But as you say, It's just whether they need to do it or not. And
Yeah.
in the case of Watch Dogs, you might be right. I think they probably don't need to.
Well, there we go. That's the first discussion.
Yeah.
It's probably going to limit the size of this discussion, which isn't a massive discussion anyway. It is big, but it's not huge.
Yes.
This comes by way of Jonathan Reyes, or Rise. Probably Race. Jonathan Race. He's really good at racing.
He is.
He's fast. What are your thoughts on the decrease of movie-based video games, be it to coincide with the release of a movie or released years afterwards as a spiritual sequel? Personally, I miss these sorts of games because when movie studios can't be bothered to make a proper sequel, a tie-in video game can offer a more expansive view of an already established universe.
That's true.
Quality of game notwithstanding, I think there is potential there, given how gaming becomes more and more cinematic every year. So what happened to the movie tie-ins, Peter?
They were mostly plops.
They were real plops.
There was literally a sentence at the end there of the question, quality of game notwithstanding, I think there's potential. I mean, yeah, if they could make good movie games, which occasionally they did, but mostly not, then they should be back. But unfortunately, they're mostly just kind of rubbish.
Yeah, I think the cream will always rise to the top, as they say, in that when a good one comes along, it will have to be heavily vetted first. So Alien Isolation, for example, was the first Alien game for a little while, and it was, by all accounts, very good. I haven't played it because I'm a coward. But, these games do occasionally happen. And when they do, they're actually pretty all right. They're pretty good. The reason you're not getting a game in the traditional movie tie-in sense for every Disney, DreamWorks, Pixar film that comes along is because they were really bad.
Yeah.
They were really bad. And you see a lot of games, a lot of movie stories still existing in the video game sphere as Lego games now, because that's a safe bet.
Yeah.
And a lot of them have moved to mobile games. So because they're just more lucrative. There was a Pirates of the Caribbean game and a Frozen game a couple of years ago, And I know Stranger Things isn't a film, but it did have a mobile game, and the new Season 3 actually has a proper game that's on PS4 and PC and so on.
Right.
So there are still tie-ins, they're just not as frequent, and they're going to... A lot of them are free to play on mobile and have microtransactions and things like that just because it's cheaper and it's easier, and they just were not turning a profit in the end.
That's the thing. I think the movie games as we once knew them, particularly I think in the PS2 era, there were just so many on the PS2 and Xbox and GameCube. I think the reason they don't exist anymore is because there probably is a bit more vetting nowadays in a sense. What do I know? But you get the impression almost that back then games were just churned out because people would just buy them. I don't know why, and it didn't really matter how good they were. I think nowadays people are a little bit more, maybe it's partly because of more and more internet use and online reviews and things like that, that maybe people do sort of say, played this, it was really bad, don't buy it, and it affects the sales of these games.
Yeah. The last, I got my PS2 that I got. I didn't get a PS2 straight away. It was bundled with a copy of Shark Tale.
Right.
On PS2. Rubbish.
Yeah.
Absolutely rubbish. And they are, on the whole, rubbish. When I first started really getting into collecting trophies, I played a lot of really, really horrible movie tie-in games. Kung Fu Panda, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatball. They're horrendous. They all follow the same pattern. They're bought by parents for kids.
Yeah.
And then these kids grow up and they don't want anything to do with them, and they know, and we know, and the generations keep growing up with games know that these are horrible.
Yeah.
And kids now just want to play on iPhones and tablets and, the instant gratification. They don't want to sit there necessarily with a controller in hand. And if they do, they want to play Fortnite.
And you're right that, when movie tie-in games are made nowadays, they tend to be really good. And again, like you say, I think it's because of that sort of vetting process. I mean, one thing we've not mentioned is, again, it's not, most of them weren't actually movie-based, but the Telltale games, You had Jurassic Park, certainly.
You did.
Which, was sort of parallel to the movie rather than actually being an adaptation of it.
Guardians of the Galaxy was sort of based on the film adaptation of the comics rather than the comics itself.
Yeah, there was a Batman one, which again wasn't based on an actual movie, I believe, but it's
for a licensed game.
Yeah,
it's there have been good ones.
Yeah,
that you're just not seeing as many. So they were usually really bad. We've played a lot of them on Worst Games Ever so far,
Yeah.
and we'll play a lot more, as you'll see. But the last big wave was probably sort of 2008, 2009-ish, which was sort of like the phase 1 period of Marvel films.
Right,
or sort
yeah.
of 2010, 2011, that kind of time. So there was, let's see, Captain America, Thor, Iron Man 1, and Iron Man 2 all had games. They were all published by Sega, and they were all bad.
Yeah.
All of them. And I don't know how well they sold. Iron Man, for example, won 2 awards.
Okay.
The GameSpot Award for Worst Game Everyone Played for the year it was released.
Oh, dear.
And the GameSpot Award for Worst Use of a Great License. So these games were just so horrible that they just weren't being made. And we have some extra information here from the New Statesman, Peter.
Oh, we do. It's
Oh, he's shuffling his notes.
New Statesman. It sounds quite official.
Oh, well, I actually cut out a line from it because they used the word like in the middle of a sentence.
Oh, okay.
So I
never
thought,
mind.
let's make him sound a little bit, well, it doesn't matter now.
It's from
But
the New Statesman.
New Statesman, yeah?
Hollywood fell back in love with games after the why is that in big square brackets?
Because they didn't actually provide the context for that in the paragraph.
Oh,
I should have read this, really, shouldn't I? Basically, there was the big ET Games disaster in the late 80s, it must have been.
Yeah,
where
when they buried them.
They single-handedly crashed the video game market by making so many of these horrible games that nobody wanted to buy them. And that's what this was referring to in an earlier part of the story, but I copied and pasted after that, so I provided some context there in square brackets.
I see. I understand.
That's what it's for.
Hollywood fell back in love with games after the ET game disaster. James Turkhurst, a computer games lecturer at Southampton's Solent University. This is really difficult.
Go on.
This resulted in quite a few reasonable game tie-ins like Lord of the Rings, Alien Isolation,
Yep.
Wolverine Origins,
Yep.
and Spider-Man 2. Oh, of course. They were good, weren't they?
Yeah.
The Spider-Man games. But it's always been difficult working to film industry timelines, end quote. It's an undeniable fact that many movie-based video games are bad.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want me to read that.
Well,
That whole paragraph. Do you
Yeah.
want, you want the rest of that?
Yeah, no, I think it's important.
Yeah, I didn't know if you just wanted the quote and then to talk about the quote. I'm
No,
really
no.
overdoing this.
No, it's fine. You can do it. It's really good so far.
It's an undeniable fact that many movie-based video games are bad. This was often because deadlines were kept incredibly tight in order for games to coincide with a film's release. When this schedule was combined with licensing costs and the fact that many tie-in games are, at their heart, a cash grab, this meant low-quality games were released. In turn, this meant falling sales, meaning smaller budgets, meaning more bad games. Bit of a vicious circle.
Yeah, exactly.
cycle.
If you like. Whatever kind of sphere you prefer.
Yeah.
Some sort of
Ellipse.
orange. It's a vicious orange.
A very vicious tangerine.
But that's basically what we've been trying to say there, as the New Statesman has summed up. The worse they got, the smaller the budgets were, the tighter the deadlines, the harder it got to make them.
Yeah.
And they just got worse and worse and worse to the point where people weren't buying them and companies just stopped giving their license to people or started giving their license en masse to crappy mobile developers who just make free-to-play games with microtransactions to make as much money as possible.
Or to THQ Nordic, who, they can just do nothing with it, I guess,
They'll
for
just
the next
buy it
15 years.
and sit on it forever.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I thought THQ was sort of like a mid-tier publisher, wasn't it? It was never EA, it was never Activision, but it was slightly below that. And I feel like they made a lot of these kinds of games.
Yeah.
And when we lost the biggest middle tier publisher, we lost a lot of games that were on that sort of level. And now THQ Nordic is back. They're not doing movie tie-ins, but they are releasing a lot of games that fit that description.
Yeah.
Your sort of mid-tier games, AA, if you like.
Right.
You can put them in your Game Boy.
Yeah. But you need 2 of them.
You need 2 of them, and they're not very good. They don't last very long. They cost a lot to make, and you have to go to 8chan to buy them.
Yeah.
It's all a bit of a disaster. But hopefully that's a bit of insight for you there. People listening and watching at home, I'm not addressing it directly to the question asker because I think they had their mind pretty much made up about that. But they just wanted us to discuss it.
Didn't need any insight.
Didn't need any insight.
Jonathan.
Jonathan Race. But that is what has happened to movie tie-ins for video games. We might see some more, and hopefully they'll be good, but I don't want a load of shovelware, which is essentially what it was. You want to see 50 copies of Iron Man 1 on PS3, go to CEX. That's where they are.
Yeah.
They're all there.
Upstairs, normally.
Yeah.
If it has 2 floors, they hide all the PS2 stuff on
All
a
the
separate
tie-in
floor.
stuff is upstairs,
Yeah.
never to be seen again. Well, let us know what you think of this in the comments section below.
Yeah.
And as always, you can tweet us and follow us and all that kind of stuff if you want more information. Peter, where can they do that?
You can find us everywhere on social media at Team TripleJump. That's YouTube and Twitch, /Team TripleJump.
Yeah.
Twitter and Facebook.com /Team TripleJump. We're on Patreon, where you can submit questions and things for this very podcast at patreon.com /Team TripleJump. The podcast, if you're watching the video version, is available in audio form at play.acast.com /s/TripleJump. No team there.
No.
There's no team in Acast.
No, there's no team in a cast.
The website is triplej.mup. That's ju.mp. And we've got a store there and all sorts of things where you can buy mooges and barbrapises.
Barbrapis shirts.
And also we've got a Discord, which has a Patreon patron exclusive room that can be accessed at bit.ly /Team
TripleJump. Fantastic. If you'd like to follow us on Twitter, you can do at @PeterAustin and at @confused_dude. Instagram at @PeterAustin, at BenPotter20. We do lists every Tuesday and Thursday. Streams every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Monday and Tuesday being on Twitch. Thursdays being on your tube. Worst Games is fortnightly, but Friday for patrons and Sunday for everybody else. There's no Worst Games this week, but there will be one next week.
There will.
The podcast is every Saturday, and we have a brand new show going out. Went out last night. It went out last night. We can talk about it. Rules Boss is back.
Did you like it?
I hope you liked it. It'll be back again soon. We'll be introducing another show next week, I think. And then next month, there'll be 2 more new shows. And then the month after that, all 4 of them will be cycling every week. So you'll be able to get a show on top of everything else that we do. And we hope you look forward to that. But let us know what you think.
Insane.
Tweet us, get in contact, all that kind of stuff. Peter.
Yeah.
Who the sponsor again, please?
The sponsor this week is Crunchy Chicks. Crunch, crunch. That's a chick in my gob. Yum, yum. Crunch. It's a chick. Tasty. Oh, my karma. Oh, no, my karma. Oh, crunchy. I'm evil. It's a chick. Delicious.
Don't let it stack. Run that DPS on the chick.
Do it.
Do not underestimate the Pepsi.
No.
Ever.
Distribute the Pepsi.
Distribute. Thank you very much to Crunchy Chicks for sponsoring us. We'll be back in a week's time. Take care of yourself. Until then, we'll speak to you soon. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.